very good evening to you. Welcome to Axiom Flux News with PJ and Andy. Tonight I've got a few articles to share with you. So I'll just bring you up my first article. Hopefully you should be able to see that, Andy. Just gives a little notification that you can see it okay.
Yep.
All good. Okay, this is the angry protests erupted in the Middle East and Africa after a satirical magazine again published a caricature of Muslim Prophet Muhammad on Wednesday. So I'm going to play this short video here for you.
This has been a day of violent outrage across parts of the Muslim world, provoked by the work of the same French publication that was targeted in last week's Paris massacre. The angry protests erupted after Charlie Hebdo again published a caricature of the Muslim prophet Muhammad. In Yemen, huge crowds protested outside the French embassy. In Algeria, they burned the French flag, chanting, "I am not Charlie, I am Muhammad." While in Niger, 2 days of rioting has left as many as 8 people dead after Christian homes were looted. This weekend of rage comes as European security forces continue to hunt down terror suspects following last week's bloodshed in France. Bill Neely once again leads off our coverage from Paris. Bill, good evening.
Good evening, Lester. This crisis started with a massacre at a small magazine here in Paris. The aftershocks are now spreading around the world. There have been violent protests in a dozen Muslim countries. Police are still questioning suspects across Europe. Troops are patrolling here in France and in Belgium. There is fear in Europe and fury elsewhere. France once ruled Niger in West Africa. Today there was only mob rule as furious crowds burned churches and killed. French citizens were warned to stay home. The mob crying for revenge after Charlie Hebdo once again printed cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. In North Africa, Algerian police struggled to contain crowds, thousands enraged in another former French colony. The Muslim backlash spread to the Middle East. In Jordan, protesters carried pictures of the Paris killers. In Pakistan, a French consulate was the target. There were protests in almost 20 Muslim countries. French President Hollande said today the protesters just don't understand France's attachment to freedom of speech. Demand for the new Charlie Hebdo has surged. Copies reached New York. 7 million have now been printed. It used to sell 50,000. In Belgium, police are examining evidence that the 2 armed men they killed wanted to target stores that sell the magazine. A Muslim cleric told me Islamic radicals are only a tiny minority in Belgium. The troops there are taking no chances, on the streets for the first time in decades, protecting Jewish areas. In Britain too, police are now guarding Jewish schools and synagogues.
This is not a time for panic, it's a time for heightened awareness, but not to be running around and to be very scared.
Jews in Germany have historic reasons to fear. Police here are still questioning several suspected Islamists. Muslims are rallying globally. Europe is rattled. And more arrests in Greece tonight. The scope of this crisis is extraordinary, with police, radicals and protesters now confronting each other across Europe and, of course, well beyond. Lester.
All right, Bill, thanks. And among those killed in the attack on Charlie Hebdo is the paper's editor-in-chief. Tonight, the man who replaced him is speaking out in his first interview with an American television network. He did so with Chuck Todd for tomorrow's Meet the Press. Chuck joins us tonight. Chuck, no doubt he is watching all this reaction we just showed. What is he saying about it?
Well, number one, he's unapologetic about what they do, and he tries to defend and tries to explain this line on what they do with their satire. His explanation, for instance, on going after religion is he doesn't go after the believers. He says they're not attacking people's personal religious beliefs. What he says they do is they only go after religious figures or religious leaders when religion is being used for political gains and political purposes. So his argument is their satire and their use of Muhammad is not aimed at Muslim citizens. It is aimed at radicals who are using Muhammad for their own political gain. It's a very nuanced argument. It was a fascinating conversation. I got a lot more, obviously, from there, including his reaction to the Pope's criticism.
Okay, I don't think there's much I need to say on that. I'd like to put your own thoughts, connect your own dots into what's been happening over the past weeks. I just thought I'd share that little short video with yourselves. Okay, good, over to me. Second article. The cost of living in every part of the world in one infographic. We think about cost of living all the time, especially when we're looking to move from one location to another. Our perspective is, therefore, generally rather narrow. The folks at MoveHub.com have compiled some awesome data that forces us to take a look at the entire world. This is an infographic on the cost of living all around the world. When you look at the data presented in this way, the results are a bit staggering. For example, the top 3 countries for cost of living are Switzerland, Norway and Venezuela. The bottom 3 are India, Nepal and Pakistan. Take a look at the whole eye-opening infographic here. They do like the designs of the images, as you'll see, but this is the information I'm going to direct you to. Okay, so the colour chart at the top corresponds to the ones on the map. This is a world look. So as you can see, the highest cost of living being in brown, which is areas like Greenland, Iceland, a few up on there at the top, just above Brazil, little place over here, and one in Africa, and the lowest cost of living, which are these lighter colours here, India. So I'm going to zoom into Europe now. Same colour chart. See Switzerland there, look, standing out like a sore thumb. Over to North America now. To Central America. So as you can see on the chart, Libya, Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, going down to Mozambique, got a strip going all the way down there. So they're all in this chart bracket here, supposedly. The areas in grey somehow don't show on the map. On the chart rather. Go down into Southeast Asia and Australia. Got the Indonesian islands, all the same. Malaysia, a little bit more of an improvement. Into Thailand and Vietnam. Myanmar, just doing more expensive than Thailand and the other places. Myanmar being Burma, I believe. So the highest cost of living, number 1, the good old Switzerland. 2, Norway. 3, Venezuela. 4, Iceland. 5, Denmark. 6, Australia. New Zealand being a little bit cheaper than Australia there. The UK, number 10. Singapore and Kuwait. More expensive over in Kuwait than it is in UK. Ireland's less expensive. Luxembourg. Finland, France, followed by Belgium. So the lowest cost the areas around the world. In at number 1, cheapest place to live. 26.27, India. Number 15, Philippines. So I think that was the end of that. Just gives you some idea. Okay, a quick scroll back up, just in case you want to pause any of these images and have another look. Okay, on to my last article. We'll get your comments after this, Andy. Indonesia sparks worldwide condemnation over execution of 5 foreigners for drug smuggling despite appeals. Dutch Foreign Minister said it is a cruel and inhumane punishment. The Indonesian government's decision to execute 6 people, including 5 foreigners, despite international appeals, has caused a diplomatic crisis, with Brazil and the Netherlands recalling their ambassadors. Despite protestations from the Dutch King and Prime Minister, as well as the Brazilian President, Indonesia had 4 men from Brazil, Malawi, Nigeria and the Netherlands executed by firing squad for drug trafficking. 2 women, one from Indonesia and the other Vietnam, were also shot dead. Indonesian President Joko Widodo first rejected clemency requests in December and later refused last-minute appeals to spare the foreign nationals, Brazilian Marco Archa Cardoso Moreira, 53, and Axiom Su, 52, who was born in Papua, but whose nationality is Dutch. The country's Attorney General, Mohamed Prasetyo, warned that a second batch of execution would be held later this year as it attempts a crackdown on the drug trade. He said there is no excuse for drug dealers and hopefully this will have a deterrent effect. Clemency will not be granted to any of the remaining 64 drug convicts on death row. In response to the executions, Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff said she was outraged and dismayed and claimed relations between the 2 countries have been affected. The Dutch Foreign Minister Bert Koenders called the execution a cruel and inhumane punishment and an unacceptable denial of human dignity. Both countries have withdrawn their ambassadors and the Netherlands has summoned Indonesia's representative to The Hague. Amnesty International said the first execution under the new president, who took office in November, were a retrograde step for human rights. Indonesia, where internal figures state 40 to 50 people die each day from drugs, has the largest drug market in Southeast Asia, with 45% of the region's drugs in circulation. There are 138 people on death row in Indonesia, most of them on drug offences, and a third of which claim foreign citizenship. Brazilian Moreira was arrested in 2003 and after police at Jakarta airport found cocaine hidden in his hang glider. The second Brazilian national Rodrigo Muxfelt Galata remains on death row in Indonesia, also convicted of drug trafficking. Dutch national, and was arrested near Jakarta in 2003 after police found equipment which they estimated had been producing 15,000 ecstasy pills a day for 3 years. The others who were executed were Namiona Dennis, 48, from Malawi, Daniel Enumuo, Enumuo, 38, from Nigeria, and Indonesian Rane Adriane. That name sounds familiar. Don't know where from. Tran Bee Chan of Vietnam asked authorities to let her face the firing squad, uncuffed as one of her last wishes. Spontana said they were killed in pairs just after midnight on Saturday, several miles from a high-security prison on Nusakambangan Island in central Java. Their bodies were brought from the island by ambulances earlier Sunday, either for burial or cremation, as requested by relatives and representatives of their embassies. So there you go, and there's my articles that I brought for you to have a ponder on. Any thoughts?
On the last article, so if you're caught drug smuggling, it's the death penalty. And I think somewhere in the article there they were saying that it causes so many deaths, drugs. So if they're going to argue on the point that it's a humanitarian decision, or should we say a life for a life, if people are smuggling drugs which kill people, and they have proof that that is the case, and then and specifically on these 5 individuals that that what they were supplying was killing people, then they might have a half argument on that. I don't agree with the death penalty anyway, but that's by the by. So if it's drugs killing people and they give drugs to somebody and they kill somebody by giving the drugs to them indiscriminately, then fair enough, I suppose. But again, like I say, I don't agree with the death penalty. But if that's the case, then shouldn't they do the same with the pharmaceutical companies, like in America, where over 100,000, was it 400,000 a year? It's some ridiculous amount. Death is caused by prescribed drugs. So perhaps some of these pharmaceutical companies should be held responsible for the same sort of crimes. That's my thought on that anyway. The first article, yeah, well, it's really ramping up, isn't it? Do you know what? I don't think the press or lamestream help the matters one way or the other, I think they're partly propagating the problems and flaming the fires, whichever.
What was Holland's response? Was that people don't understand France's freedom of speech or something like that?
But that's not the point, is it?
No, but straight away that were his first response. Like, out of all the other things he could have said.
Well, exactly. I mean, it doesn't help, does it?
No.
Killing people is killing people. It's wrong. It doesn't solve anything. Whoever causes it, whoever's behind it, whichever way, terrorists, murderers, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Do the people over in Indonesia not do any what's it called again? Is it called restorative justice, something like that? Andy, you might be able to correct me there.
I don't think so, PJ. I think they just make up their own rules, and if somebody's caught breaking their rules, what they think up, then they put them in front of a firing squad, and that's it. I mean, that's what you get in these countries.
Even despite appeals, Andy.
Even despite appeals, they don't. No, it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter any of it. The world is a crazy place, and these two articles that you put up, your first and last, sort of like outlines that. So, yeah, and as for the cost of living charts, well, kind of my eyebrow tweaked up a couple of times on a few of the countries there. How do they base them figures? Cost of living on who? The poorest in the country, the richest in the country, a broad take of everybody. I mean, how do they come up with these figures?
It doesn't actually say on the article itself. It just goes straight into the charts as displayed, and doesn't really give you much of a link where the sources have come from, apart from the website MoveHub. These are the people that have put this together. I'll click on their link now, see if this can display anything.
Yeah, I wonder who MoveHub is.
The CPI in the infographic is a relative indicator of a country's living cost, or relative indicator compared to New York. So, for instance, if a country has a CPI of 70, on average it enjoys 30% cheaper living costs compared to New York. So it's all based on New York then, yeah? Is that what you got out of that?
I was thinking, oh, what? I was actually, reading the article.
The Consumer Price Index takes into account the cost of groceries, transportation, restaurants, and utilities, each containing a number of variables. The cost of groceries, for instance, is made up of the price for meat, bread, rice, eggs, fruits, vegetable, and alcohol. The transportation cost includes one-way tickets.
Basically,
the data was collected by Numbeo, the world's largest database of user-contributed data on costs and prices around the world. So let's click on these guys.
Yeah, I think I know where they've got their. Figures from. Which, I mean, anybody could get in a couple of hours' work. Just get flying around the internet. The CPI it must be judged on inflation rates. Okay, because everything cost of living is inflation rates, yeah. And if you've got a very low inflation rate, they go, well, how much is it? Let's give it a mark out of 10.
Well, it always seems to go back to 2009. You know, when recession were, or the robbery, the Great Robbery. Yeah. You don't go back any further than that.
Well, of course, we all know that all these inflation rates, like interest rates, are all rigged anyway. I mean, anybody thinks that inflation for the UK is around 2%. Obviously, doesn't have to go and buy food from where the average Joe has to buy it from, and how much they have to pay. I mean, anybody can see that inflation is way above the fixed figures that governments release. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't really.
Well, that can't be the case, though, Andy.
Pardon?
Do you know what? Do you know why?
Go on.
Because I saw it on the TV and it said it was going down. So therefore, I'm forced to believe that the inflation is dropping.
Well, the oil's dropping. Oil's dropping.
Oil is dropping,
yeah. Anyway, thanks, PJ. I see. Interesting.
No worries. Over to you, Andy, when you're ready.
Okie dokie. Let's get a screen going here. Right, what have we got? Here we go. Hey, it's clicked. Can you see that?
Yep, nice and clear.
Right, okay. Mysterious planet X may really lurk undiscovered in our solar system. This isn't the one from last year. This is a couple of days ago, January 16th. Anyway, I thought you might be interested in this, PJ, if you haven't heard it already, of course, after reading your book. Planet X might actually exist. Oh, sorry, let me start there. Look. 2 or more unknown planets could exist beyond the orbit of Pluto in our solar system, new research suggests. Credit NASA / JPL Caltech. Anyway, Planet X. Yeah. Planet X might actually exist, and so might Planet Y. At least, let's get this up a bit. At least 2 planets larger than the Earth likely lurk in the dark depths of space far beyond Pluto, just waiting to be discovered. A new analysis of the orbits of extreme trans-Neptunian objects, ETNOs, suggests. Researchers studied 13 ETNOs, frigid bodies such as the dwarf planet Sedna that cruise around the Sun at distance in elliptical paths, meet our solar system dwarf points. Theory predicts a certain set of details for ETNO orbits. Study team members said, for example, they should have a semi-major axis or average distance from the Sun of about 150 astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit is the distance from Earth to the Sun. Roughly 93 million miles or 150 million kilometers. These orbits should also have an inclination relative to the plane of the solar system of almost 0 degrees, among other characteristics. But the actual orbits of 13 ETNOs are quite different, with semi-major axes ranging from 150 to 525 AU and average inclinations of about 20 degrees. This excess of objects with unexplained orbitable parameters makes us believe that some invisible forces are altering and distributing of the orbital elements of the ETNOs, and we consider that the most probable explanation is that other unknown planets exist beyond Neptune and Pluto. Lead author Carlos de la Fuente Marcos of the Complutense University of Madrid said in a statement. The exact number is uncertain, given that the data we have is limited, but our calculations suggest there are at least 2 planets, and probably more within the confines of our solar system, he added. The potential undiscovered worlds would be more massive than Earth, researchers said, and would lie about 200 astronomical units or more from the Sun, so far away that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to spot with current instruments. The new results, detailed in 2 papers in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society letters, aren't the first to lend credence to the possible existence of so-called Planet X. In March 2014, Chadwick Trulio and Scott Shepard announced the discovery of 2012 VP113, an ETNO that never gets closer to the Sun than 80 astronomical units. 2012 VP113 thus joins Sedna as the 2 known denizens of the inner Oort cloud, a far-flung and largely unexplored region of space beyond the Kuiper Belt, where Pluto lies. Trulli and Shepard suggested that the orbits of 2012 VP113 at Sedna are consistent with the continued presence of a big perturber, perhaps a planet 10 times more massive than Earth that lies 250 astronomical units from the Sun. However, the pair also stressed that other explanations are possible as well. For example, Sedna and 2012 VP1 may have been pushed out to their present position by long ago interactions with other stars in the Sun's birth cluster. The objects may also have been nabbed from another solar system during a stellar close encounter. De la Fuente Marcos and his colleagues acknowledged the possibility of such alternative scenarios as well. The picture should get clearer as researchers study the orbits of more and more distant icy objects, he said. If it is confirmed, our results may be truly revolutionary for astronomy, De La Fuente Marcos said. So there you go, PJ. I know it's a subject close to yourself there that you're very interested in. Well, a lot of people are.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, they're entertaining the thought even more now, NASA. Yeah.
Well, I have got a lot to say on that article. It's interesting, but I don't want to spoil it when I, do my little presentation on my book.
Oh, well, you can give us a couple of, because that's my only article tonight, so you can give us a couple of sneak previews, can't you, of the sort of questions, or the sort of you've got it. Well, tell us a little bit without giving too much what you got in your article then.
Well, what I'll do is I'll just try and find you the book first, so you can actually, so I can show the people what I'm talking about. Just try and bring it up here.
That word seems to be popping up quite a lot just lately, doesn't it?
I like how they refer to it as Planet Y,
Hmm.
but that there could be a possible Planet Y.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
interesting.
yeah. Also, might be Planet Y. Yeah. Well.
Just trying to find that book. Oh, it's here. This is the book.
Okay. You want the screen?
I'll take it off you for a short second or two.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Should see this, guys. This is the book I'll be doing. Oh no, it's not. That's not the one.
Oh.
This is the one. Do apologise. This is the one. It's called The Neptune File by Tom Standage. It talks about all the, the previous astronomers and people who have really been into astronomy and got the name down in history for discovering planets and comets, and basically goes through the start to end of, the hundreds of years of discovering worlds unseen. So if you want to get a little bit in front by the time I do this talk, I suggest go and buy it. It's only a cheap little book. It says $12.99 on here, but I managed to pick mine up for, I think it was just a few pounds. So and it's an interesting read. I'm 3/4 of the way through. So yeah, but all the stuff that you pointed to in that article is what can I say without spoiling it for you? It's I'd agree with the research or the new new discovered research, did it say?
Yeah, well, you mean the scientist De La Fuente?
Well, it's not new. It's not new discovered research. They've discovered it before. They've just ignored it or passed on it, and now they're looking back.
Yes,
so that's my view on it.
No, I think they already know these things already exist.
Yeah, they already knew about it at one point, and because it's probably getting a little bit hard for them to start, denying certain things anymore. Now people are managing to figure things out for themselves, I think.
This guy,
there were a time where you had your royals appointing certain people to carry out duties and work for him, and they were the ones that went down in history. And his story is never usually the story that you see when you live your life.
No, I think a lot of people are discovering that now as we go into.
He's the main one. Many people know him, John Couch Adams.
Now he's the guy who made his own telescope that was well in advance of its time, wasn't he?
No, there was quite a few who made their own. I think it was Herschel. Herschel was the main one, William Herschel.
He polished his own lenses, didn't he, to make the mirror lens or something?
He was the well, initially he had a passion in music. He was a musician.
Right.
And he started getting, as a little hobby, getting an interest in looking at making telescopes, and then he got that good at it. He claimed to have telescopes that, the British, places didn't even have at the time. So, and obviously people didn't really believe pretty much anything he had to say because his claims were unrealistic back then. So, but it did turn out to be true that his claims were in fact indeed accurate, and there was never really truly given the credit.
Now these guys in their time would have been amateurs at what they'd done.
Not all of them, yeah, some of them.
Yeah, but the guys who made these telescopes themselves, they didn't rely on a corporation to think of them up and that. This is what I was talking earlier on.
They were mainly mathematicians, in the day.
Yeah, but they're very innovative and creative, aren't they?
To have made them. Yeah.
That's what's missing today, in my opinion. But from the average Joe, because it's being suppressed because they have to go and work at Tesco's.
Yeah.
to put another point on it, but yeah, very good. But yes, I mean, what's this also? Very nothing to do with this, PJ. What's the name of this telescope? He did tell me earlier on that's going past Pluto at the moment, or very close to it.
This
Satellite, sorry. I can't remember what it's called. It's meant to be give us lovely HD quality pictures of.
Is it? I can't remember the month either. When is it? March or May 16th? One of them, not 17th.
Well, apparently it's meant to be quite close now. I think.
Yeah, but they'll not be showing them straight away, surely.
I think they're close enough to take much better pictures of the fuzzy little tiny ball that Hubble took.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll go, oh my word, look at the size of this ETNO. It's 10 times bigger than the Earth. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying. But
well, the way they used to discover or suspect a hidden planet was by the rotations and orbits of the planets that they knew of, and they'd study them. And if they noticed anything that were, to the what they called the Bode's law. You heard of that, Bode's law, Andy? Familiar with that, yeah?
Is it what they used to call a gravitational pull from other?
Yeah, that sort of things, yeah.
Or
yeah.
I say magnetic. So.
Perturbations, they called it.
Yeah. Fair enough. I prefer.
But you don't like gravity, do you, Andy?
No, I prefer magnetic and magnetism. we won't go into that tonight. We'll leave that for one of my articles. Well, I think I might have covered it a little bit on an earlier Flux News we done, or something leading to it. If I didn't, that would be a future article or something we can have a chat about at the time. But interesting stuff. That's it for me, PJ.
Okay, just check see if there's any comments before we go from the viewers.
It looks like it's 0 again, but
no, there's none.
No.
Someone saying it's interesting that they called it Y, same as what I pointed out. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. What about a Z?
Z.
XYZ.
Is that Zog? Planet Zog?
What was it, Neil, before? What was it? Zog?
Oh, Zog. Yeah.
Anyway.
Zog's from the Fifth Element film.
Yeah.
Zog.
Zog, yeah. Alright, that's me done.
No worries. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with some more guests and some more Flux news. Till then, take care, and we'll see you again.